Hello and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Bros podcast, a podcast designed to give you an insight into the world of education. My name is Mohammed. I realized that I forgot to introduce myself in our last episode. Once again, I'm joined by...
Mohsin.
And in this episode, we'll be going through what it's like to actually train to be a teacher. So we'll be giving a brief explanation of the different routes available to get into teaching, what they offer and how you can apply. We'll go into greater detail about our own experiences during the PGCE year, looking at how it is structured and what is expected of you, how does secondary training differ to primary, discussing what comes after the PGCE year, and we'll finish up by giving our top 5 training year survival tips. So, looking at the different options, obviously considering we've got a massive teacher shortage, which has been widely publicised, there are quite a lot of different routes into teaching.
Yeah, so we've got schools direct salaried and non-salaried. We've got the normal, the usually heard, the PGCE route, which comes with a lot of bursaries. It depends like what subject you want to do. So if you want to do maths, there's usually quite a high bursary for maths. More recently, they brought in bursaries for English now, which they didn't used to have before.
Yeah, constantly changing.
Exactly. They've got the Teach First route, and they've got like teacher apprenticeships as well.
Yeah, so they've got quite a lot of different routes. Like I think, yeah, as Muslim mentioned, with the PGCE one, that tends to be the more common one. A lot of people opt for. Schools direct and Teach First is training on the job. So you get hired by a school, you're there, and then you spend the majority of the time at the school. Whereas PGCE is a lot more, I wouldn't say slowed down. It's intensive, but they ease you into it more so than schools direct and
I would
Teach
say
First.
The schools direct is more hands-on. You know, you're diving straight into the deep end and you're teaching. You probably have more experience, but with PGCE, it is more slowed down a bit. You spend some days at uni. You're with a mentor. They guide you a bit. They prepare you for that first placement just a bit more, if that makes sense. And it depends what uni you go to as well. Some unis you're not at your placement 5 days a week. You might have 1 day at uni, 4 days in a school, and that helps just slow things down a bit more and just helps you with the workload and everything. And just preparing you.
And with each program, there are different ways that you can apply. So, for example, with Schools Direct and PGCE, you apply through UCAS as you would if you were going to university.
Yep.
Whereas with Teach First, they call it a leadership program. I don't know if they still have the same. I know they've rebranded, so I'm not too sure. But I know with that they've got their own website. You go through a rigorous application process. They've got a range of questions online. Then they actually call you on this assessment center day, where you're up against some of the other candidates. It feels like The Apprentice, where everyone's just there trying to prove themselves and not wanting to be fired and that. So
it's quite a process, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a range of different routes suitable for different people. You have to consider what is best for you. So, for example, with Schools Direct salaried, they do say that you need to have 3 years of experience beforehand working in any industry. Yeah.
I guess that will suit people that, I don't know, maybe living by themselves, need to get paid whilst teaching sort of thing. Yeah, it suits those kind of people.
Or people coming from different careers and just... not everybody is able to spend a whole year of not making any money, you know.
Exactly, true.
Yeah. So if you've got experience working in a different industry and you took an interest in teaching and you wanted to get into it, then that's a route that you could possibly opt for.
Yeah, I mean, my advice would be just check online, check the different routes, see what's best for you. Check out the non-salaried route, the salaried route. Just check what's good for you, really. Check out the PGCE route. Check out what bursaries they have on offer. If you want to do English, how much are they giving you to do English? If you want to do maths, how much they're giving. Some subjects they don't give a bursary, so you need to double check. Just that's what you need to really do. Just do a bit of research as well.
And with PGCE, another thing is that it's like another year at university in the sense where it's £9,000. Obviously, again, you're not expected to pay for it on the spot. You can take student finance for that. So you have the bursary to help you. With Schools Directs, with the salaried route, you don't pay the £9,000 for the PGCE. However, at the same time, you get paid, but some of them don't end with the PGCE. So there's a wealth of information online.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're looking to get into teaching and you wanted guidance and advice, then you're more than welcome to contact to contact the Teaching Bros, and we'll be happy to help you. But in terms of what we went for the PGCE program.
Yep.
Stuck to the typical one.
Yep.
So we're gonna go through what that's like, what comes before the program, how do you actually apply for it, what is the interview stage like, and then what the program is like itself. So, Marcin, what happened before?
Well, pretty much what you do is you go online, like you said previously. It's like applying to a university. So you check out which university you want to go to maybe, and if they're providing your course, if you want to do primary, if you want to do secondary. If you want to do secondary, what subject do you want to specialise in? Once you found out which one you want to go to in terms of university or course provider, a lot of teachers, they do opt for Middlesex, they opt for East London, UEL, sorry, they opt for these kind of universities.
Depending on where you are,
yeah, depending on what's good for them, in terms of maybe distance, in terms of the actual course, if that university is offering it. So what I did is I created my personal statement. After that, you upload it. Again, it's like you're applying for university. You upload your personal statement, you upload your references.
It's pretty much exactly the same process.
100%. After that, you might get called to a few interviews. I got called to a couple. I remember one interview, the one that I got accepted on. It was great. I taught a little lesson. They told me beforehand what I'd be teaching. So you don't really need to stress in terms of that. They'll tell you well in advance what they expect you to teach on the day. They'll tell you this is going to be the interview as well, so how long each of them is going to last for, maybe roughly how many people you're going to teach to. So just make sure you take your resources plentiful. I printed out everything in colour. I had backup resources as well, and actually surprisingly on that day the whiteboard stopped working. So
no way.
I know, and imagine that.
It's like welcome to teaching.
Yeah, exactly. And it happens. There's a story of a person, one of my colleagues at the time, who was teaching a lesson, and the whiteboard kept switching off, like throughout her whole lesson. She kept turning it back on. After 30 seconds, it will switch off again.
I feel like I know where this is going.
So anyway, she kept doing it, and then right at the end of the lesson, she had like such a nightmare of a lesson. Dismissed the class. One kid stayed back. Kid told her, "Miss, so and so kept turning off the whiteboard with his phone."
I knew it.
Crazy, isn't it?
Nah.
This is what
Do you know what that
happens,
reminds me? Remember when we had those watches where you can switch off the TV, turn the TV on and off? Yeah, you'll get those kids anyway.
So you get those.
You get those kids.
Yeah, so I went to my interview. Like I said, the whiteboard wasn't working, so I just had to improvise a bit. But I did well, did good. Had a few questions afterwards, like why do you want to become a teacher? What makes you think that you could become a good teacher, sort of thing. Why our university? So make sure you do a bit of research in terms of that uni and that course provider. Why that subject as well. So again, make sure you're passionate about the subject you want.
And I think that is really important, man. I think before you even apply to become a teacher, be sure about what you want to do, because I hear a lot of people saying, teaching is my second option. I might fall back onto teaching.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Some people do that.
Yeah, that might be the truth. That might be the truth as well.
It's not an easy ride. It's not what you think. You don't just pop into the classroom, deliver a lesson, and then leave. No, there's so much more to it, and you need to be passionate about it. You need to understand the responsibility that you hold. You need to know what you're getting yourself into before you go into it, because as much as a lot of people think, I can do it as a second option, sadly, statistics do show that a lot of people do drop out.
Yeah,
a lot of people do leave the profession, which is a sad state of affairs. But and that's due to many different reasons. Yeah. But I would definitely say, before you go into teaching, understand the why. When you're writing that personal statement, it's a personal statement. And you wanting to get into teaching has to be a personal decision. It has to be something that you've thought through. It has to be something that has come from somewhere. And you're expected to go into classrooms and then inspire students.
Exactly. You want motivate them, inspire them, just build some sort of.
And if you don't have that passion, if you don't have that enthusiasm, these kids will see past that.
100%.
They'll see through you. They'll immediately suss you out, and they'll know whether you're there for different reasons, whether your intentions aren't clear. They'll see through you. There's no way that you can hide that.
Exactly. So after I did my lesson, had a few questions, and I wasn't expecting them to give me a judgment or a verdict right there and then.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me to step outside for a couple of minutes. I remember waiting for about 5 to 10 minutes. I know
That just
my
reminded
heart
me.
was just beating, and they called me back in. They said, Mohsen, come back inside. I was like, thanks. They said, look, we'd like to offer you a placement on our course. What do you think? Do you think you'd be able to accept it? And without a doubt, I just said, yep, I'm happy to be part of this. I had the fattest smile on my face.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. I was so happy. I just kept saying thank you, kept shaking their hands.
You know, I really feel bad for those people, man. You know when the guy comes in and he says, so and so, can I see you outside quickly?
Oof.
Well, whenever somebody says, can I see you outside quickly,
Yeah.
those words are killers. You don't know what's coming.
You don't know what to
Because
expect.
I remember, there were 2 other people that were with. I had this, similar sort of experience in terms of applying, where I went on for an interview. See, my one was a little bit weird actually, because, oh man, me getting into what I'm doing right now took me a very long time. I had initially applied for Teach First. As I mentioned in the last episode, I was working in a primary school, so I thought, okay, let me go into Teach First. Let me do the primary program. At the very last minute, there was something that required me to defer it. I ended up doing something else, and then I thought to myself, you know what? Let me try secondary, see what it's like. And then I got into a schools direct secondary program, and then I was at the school. I was working there. I got into I was supposed to start my training with them the year after. I was working as an unqualified teacher, and then after that, and then again, different things happened. Like,
So let me just ask you something then. So what do you think? What do you think the main difference between teaching primary and teaching at secondary level is, and what made you want to teach at secondary level then ultimately?
see, with secondary, I like the fact that you can have an immediate impact on the students. With primary, it's fulfilling. It's a fundamental foundation that you're helping the students to grow. But at the same time, you just feel as though maybe the relationships that you can build up with them, they didn't seem to be as fulfilling as secondary one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as we'll be going into later,
Yeah.
Primary, it's not easy.
Yeah.
People might think it's a bunch of kids. You're gonna have to. It's very easy English, very math, science. No, but it is a very rigorous program. We'll be going into that later on as well. Just thinking, but for me, it was just a case of I just felt that secondary has been a lot more fulfilling, and I'm glad that I waited. That's another thing. If you are thinking of applying, try it out. Maybe try and volunteer at a couple different schools.
100%.
Just get yourself into the environment, see what it's like before you actually commit to it.
Yeah. That's a good point actually. You should be volunteering before you apply. A lot of teachers a lot of people they apply to become a teacher, and it's like, what experience do you have? But they've got no experience at all. They've just seen the bursary and they've just seen some good things like the holidays and stuff. But you should really volunteer at your local school, just maybe send an email, call them up, try to get some experience.
And schools
in.
they are quite open to it. They are quite open. Yeah,
exactly. You could just do 1 day a week. You could do half a day maybe. Just find out. Just make that agreement.
Yeah, schools are really welcoming. Actually, they haven't. They open doors as long as you've got your DBS and everything. They'll be more than willing to take a person on just to get that experience of being there.
Exactly.
But so in terms of the application process, that's what it is. You apply for a UCAS. You get invited onto for interviews. You do your demo lessons. You could be given an offer on the spot. Oh yeah, you also need to make sure that you've got your skills test done.
Oh yeah, that's right. So your English and maths subject knowledge. No, not subject knowledge, just skills test.
Skills test,
a skills test.
Now a lot of people are fazed by that, but
a lot of people say it's really difficult. I've had a few people message me saying, can you help me out in terms of tutoring? Can you tutor me for it? It's not a problem. We can do that. We can help you with that. But I mean, personally, I found it quite simple. But I mean, others might find it.
I think some people
haven't done it in years.
Exactly. That's what it is. So, but it's manageable, and I think you get 3 tries for free, and then if you fail again, then you'd have to pay for the 4th try or something like that. I'm not too sure.
I think they keep changing it.
I don't think that's something for people to worry about. It's doable. It's manageable. You plan ahead, and I know people. See, this is another thing with the PGC. I know people that applied in August and they got into a program starting in September. I know people that applied in September and got into a course starting in September.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, after I did get accepted, I remember leaving the building of the university I was at, and I just straight away called my mum. I said, you know what, mum, I've been accepted. I'm gonna become a teacher. I was just really happy and overjoyed, basically.
So the program itself, so as you said, we both went through the PGCE route. With the program itself, there are some requirements that are universal regardless of what program you're doing. With the PGCE route, you have to do 2 placements. No matter what uni you go to, you have to do 2 placements. They try to make it so that you're attending 2 different types of schools where they can.
2 contrasting schools. Also, some unis might expect you to do 3 placements. If you didn't get enough experience in the 2 placements, you might be asked to do a 3rd placement. If things aren't going too well, again, you might be asked to do 1 more placement. If you want to specialize,
but it's rare occasion, and very specific circumstances that would require you to do a 3rd one.
If you want to specialize with like SEN children or something, you might do a 3rd placement where it's just an SEN school sort of thing.
And again, the program itself it's quite short, really, because you start off at the end of September generally, and you finish by early June, mid-June, I think. Something like that.
It's not even really a year, is it? It's not a full year.
It's not exactly a training.
The holidays as well.
Yeah, you've got Christmas, you've got Easter, you've got the half-term holidays.
And then you'll have weeks in between those when you switch from a different school sort of thing. So then you have that week back at uni sort of thing.
Yeah, some unis do that. So again, it'll be best to research what sort of structure does the uni have. How have they structured their program. But so you'll be expected to go on 2 different placements. For me, the first 2 weeks we were at uni just going through a range of different things to do with we were going through the teaching standards. So what are we actually marked on? We should just go through that, right?
You want to go? Let's go through it.
So this is what you're actually marked on. This is what you're judged upon. So when when you get your qualified teacher status, you have to make sure that you've proved that you can do these things.
Yeah, so there's pretty much like there's the part 1 and part 2 of the teacher standards. Part 1 is made up of 8 sort of subsections, and then part 2 is just a professional and personal conduct sort of teacher standards. But we'll go through it in a chronological order. So your teacher standards are basically to set high expectations which inspire, motivate and challenge pupils. So what we're going to do, we'll talk about
so making sure that you've established an environment that's safe for pupils. You're setting goals that stretch and challenge pupils, and the classroom that you've got is one that
it's a
students
happy, positive environment.
And students understand that although it's happy, although it's fun, although it's engaging, there are high expectations. They are motivated. They are being challenged.
Exactly.
That's the first teaching standard. The second one, promoting good progress and outcomes by pupils. Again, kind of similar to the first one. It's all to do with pushing students forward. You are accountable for the pupils' attainments. You're accountable for their progress and their outcomes. So you need to be aware of their capabilities and making sure that you build on them.
Exactly. Just encouraging students to be more responsible for their work. Maybe just giving them positive praise as well to help that progress.
Mm-hmm.
And and then number 3 is to demonstrate good subject knowledge and curriculum knowledge. So this is one that a lot of teachers might be a bit iffy about. They get a bit anxious. I want to be this type of teacher, but do I have the subject knowledge for it? Am I really ready for it? I don't really know everything about this subject.
They do have subject knowledge enhancement courses before. So for example, let's say you want to get into teaching, I don't know, English, but you did a law degree. Because I know somebody that's done this. They did a law degree, but they did English at A-level and they did really well.
Yeah.
So they managed to get onto a PGCE English course, but they had to do a subject knowledge enhancement course.
Yeah, these
so
things
this
are
is
out
something
there.
That can be arranged
Exactly.
if you're worried.
What I needed to get onto was that people do get anxious about it, but there's nothing to be anxious about. There's nothing to worry about. I mean, nobody goes in knowing everything. You go in, you learn a bit, and it's just a slow process basically, and then eventually you learn the whole subject. I'm in my 4th year of teaching now, and my subject knowledge isn't perfect. I wouldn't say I know every single thing.
I don't think you'll ever reach a state of perfection. You're always learning. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you'll be more experienced, but it will never be perfect. Okay, there's always something where let me just go back on that or read up on that sort of thing. So there's nothing to worry about. Even your most experienced teachers are like, you know what, I just need to check the book quickly. I'll get back to you, or whatever.
Yeah,
So
and
I wouldn't
and
stress
and
too
that's
much about that.
that's human. Like you can't be expected to know everything
Yeah.
at every single moment of time. So yeah, so with that one, just making sure that you do have a good level of understanding of your subject.
Yep.
Know the curriculum.
Yep.
What's going on? Have there
Yep.
been any changes within the curriculum?
Yep. Just make sure
you
you know.
you will be asked about that within your interview. I think that's a question that they love to ask.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the curriculum of the subject that you're going for?
Exactly. Make sure you just research maybe the different exam boards, whether it's AQA, Edexcel, OCR. That would be helpful. Number 4.
Number 4, planning and teaching well-structured lessons. So again, this is something that they're testing you on. You will have to plan lessons. Now, some schools, they have existing schemes of work and everybody has to be teaching the same thing, but you will still be expected to differentiate. Now, you might go in a placement where the school has absolutely nothing on their system. They don't have any schemes of work to follow, and you'd be expected to plan them from scratch. And yeah, so this is something that you'll be checked up on, making sure that you can, as much as you may have that knowledge, are you able to structure lessons that engage students, that promote high expectations, that promote good student progress. So you'll notice that a lot of the teaching standards are they're all tied into one another. Anyways.
Yeah, they're all interrelated. So with the planning and teaching well structured lessons, I remember I was given certain topics to teach, and I had to teach them from scratch. I had to make PowerPoints from scratch, worksheets from scratch, but I loved doing that because it showed me the work rate that I had to be working at. It showed me what teachers really are, what they do, and it showed me just how to be creative and how to create.
I think it's the most
resources.
enjoyable part. Apart from the actual delivering the plan, I quite enjoy planning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. At the time, it was quite fun.
Yeah. No,
was.
it can get strenuous. It can get quite boring when you're, especially if you're planning the same thing over and over again. But it does allow you to be creative, just researching the topic beforehand.
I think in the PGCE year, it's more fun because it's like you got quite a bit of time on your hands.
Yeah.
You can make lessons engaging. You can make them fun, and then when you do start teaching, you can take those same lessons and reteach them in your first year, second year of teaching, and it's like, with different classes, it's like, wow, that wow factor is still there. It's like, this is amazing, sir. And sometimes I get questioned like, where did you get this lesson from? And it's like, I made this myself.
Yeah.
And they're shocked, they're shocked sometimes.
And I think you start to realize planning does become a lot easier over time.
100%.
When it says teaching well-structured lessons, you start to realize what does a well-structured lesson look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and over time you become, you've got your routine. You don't get into a routine to the point where your lessons become predictable and boring, but lesson planning does become a lot easier.
Yeah, so like planning the lesson would be like maybe the PowerPoints and the resources, but actually teaching a well-structured lesson would be like having a starter activity on the board. So when students come into your lessons, they've already got something to get on with. Having your main, where they're getting on with maybe a worksheet and it's more student-led, and then you'll have like a plenary at the end of the lesson to summarize what we've been doing. Do the students understand what they've been doing? Is there anything we need to go over? Is there anything we need to develop on more, maybe, or go into more detail?
Yeah.
Now,
I think we could dedicate a whole episode to lesson planning.
100%, yeah, one of those.
Yeah, if anybody wants to listen to that. Yeah. Number 5, you need to make sure that you're adapting your teaching to respond to the strengths and needs of all pupils.
So one key word just comes up to mind is differentiate.
Yes.
You need to differentiate. You've got your lower ability students, higher ability students. You need to bridge that gap with the lower ability students, and you need to extend and stretch your higher ability students. You need to challenge them, basically. So your worksheets can't just be the same. It's not a one hat fits all sort of thing.
Exactly.
You need to be, giving your high ability students extension strategies. You need to be giving your low ability students maybe starter sentences.
Scaffolding, yeah.
Yeah, you need to scaffold them pretty much. Yeah, so that's just differentiating, really.
Yeah, and I think with that one, you'll quickly realise that not all your students are able to respond to things in the same way. Yeah. Every single one of them has their own different character. They've got their strengths. They've got their targets.
Exactly.
And as a teacher, it is your duty to ensure that you know your pupils.
Yeah.
So it could be using data, you just through conversations that you have with them, through the work that they're producing in their book. And you're constantly having to adapt your teaching. And you need to be willing to do that. You need to be ready to do that.
Yeah.
Number 6, making accurate use make an accurate and productive use of assessment. So similar to what I just mentioned there.
Yeah.
So using data to monitor progress, and I think every single school has some sort of data collection system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every school has their own way or form of assessment, like feedback as well. A lot of schools are just doing green pen now, so you'll give like a www, a what went well, an EBI, an even better if, and then a next step sort of thing. Now what my school currently do is, in the next steps, it's usually in the form of a question, and then that question is then answered in green pen by the students. So this shows us that, hang on, has the student understood where their mistake was? Can they answer this now? And it's sort of supportive. I mean, it allows us to identify where they've gone wrong, and then it allows us to identify whether they understand where they've gone wrong and if they can make that correction effectively.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of green pen, a lot of red pen. In my school, the policy is that teachers mark in red, students can respond back to marking or feedback.
And I think that's
in
the
green
most
pen.
important part, giving students the opportunity to actually respond. There's no point in marking for the sake of marking.
Exactly, yeah.
And see, and that's another thing. Obviously, you would hear a lot of people be faced by, I've got to mark work, I've got to take books home, this and that. Every school has a different policy. Like the school I'm at right now, they do something called live marking. So people don't actually take books home. So you're trained to just mark as you go along during your lessons, and making sure that you mark every student's book at least once during a week.
Yeah.
Every school has their own system, and you'd be expected to just follow whatever policy they have, whatever marking policy they have.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a whole episode on that as well, and just techniques how to mark effectively and stuff like
See,
that.
I think that would be really good though, because
That'd be really helpful.
We
That'd
can
be really helpful.
we can do an episode on every single one of these teaching standards.
To be honest,
really.
we can.
Yeah.
My favourite one is to number 7 now. Manage behaviour effectively to ensure a good and safe learning environment. I think me and you both excel at that. What do you think?
No, I like it. And I think the way, which kind of links to another one that will come up later on, I feel like the best way to manage behaviour is consistency.
Yeah.
Firm but fair.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the sort of teacher who students look to and think, oh, this person's just strict, they just shout, they just...
Yeah.
Because...
Or they're out of touch, or they're just old school.
If you are the sort of person that shouts,
Yeah.
think back to yourself as a student.
Yeah.
When you noticed that a teacher was shouting, what would you try and do?
Shout
I'd
back.
try to make not shout back, but I try to make them shout some more.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's what I'm saying, exactly.
we enjoy seeing them shout. It's like
Ooh.
I got them to that point.
Yeah, like I made that teacher do that.
Yeah, so again, managing behavior effectively, there are plenty of different strategies.
We're gonna have to do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, and I think schools have their own policies on this.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the regular giving a kid a verbal warning, written warnings,
Yep.
sending them out. There's a lot of different strategies that people have, and think about your own class. Again, the same way that you're differentiating your lesson plans, you also need to differentiate your behavior management as well.
Exactly.
There'll be certain things some kids might respond to you being firm. Some kids might require a small, just a little talking to on the side.
Yeah.
You have to work out based on the relationship that you have with your students.
Yeah, normally I personally prefer to just keep a misbehaved child behind after the lesson and just talk to them, just find out what's wrong, what's the issue, anything I can help with, give them a few stories of other children that might have acted like that, where they've ended up at, give them a chance to speak, give them a chance to express their views, their opinions, give them a chance to build a little relationship with me, and that usually helps. The next lesson you usually see them behaving well.
Yeah, and I think students do appreciate when it becomes a discussion. And I don't really like the whole "you've done this wrong." No, it's build up a discussion around it. Ask the child what have they done wrong.
Yeah.
Do they understand that they've done wrong?
Yeah.
Maybe it might be a case of where you've not set your rules clearly enough. You've
Exactly.
your routines and your expectations haven't been stated clearly.
I think
the child doesn't actually know that they've done wrong.
Yeah, I think some of the best teachers are the teachers that reflect on themselves and realize, hang on, maybe I've done this wrong. Having that ability to just say, maybe I have done this wrong, maybe I need to do this better next time.
I do
valued.
strongly believe. Again, some people might disagree with me. I do strongly believe that students they're not there to make your life hell. I can see, you guys can't see this, but he's smiling.
I'm smiling a bit, but he's right though. He's right. They're not there to make your life hell.
I don't think deep inside they're not menaces. They're not there to make your life hell.
You know what?
I think they will respond to how you are as a teacher.
Yeah, I think look. At the end of the day, they're waking up early. They're coming into school. some of them don't realize yet why they're even coming into school. They don't realize that in, I don't know, the next 10 years they're going to have a job, and this is what it's all building up to. And as teachers, sometimes we don't even have time to talk to our students about that. Like, the reason why you're actually learning this is because you're trying to get your GCSEs, or we're trying to get you to college, or, you know, this is a long-term process. You're going to go to university.
Yeah, and as a
job.
teacher, you need to make sure that the student understands that.
Yeah, I mean, students are really, maybe a lot of them have a short-term like mindset, if that makes sense. They're thinking like, we're just here for today, and, you know, I'm only in year 10, or
not all
I'm
of
only
them.
in year 9, I've got years to go. I'm, you know, they don't think I'm going to be an adult soon, or I'm going to blink and I'm going to be in that position. You know, I remember when I was in school,
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking about my job. Do you know what I mean? I'm here to have fun with my friends.
I don't think I knew what I want. I knew that I wanted to get into teaching, but I don't think that I was certain about it until maybe A-level time or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, but that's the thing with behavior management. You'll figure out what works with your class. Be firm, be fair, have clear routines, have clear rules, have high expectations. Again, this is something that they are testing you on. I know somebody that unfortunately they couldn't pass their NQT year because because they just couldn't manage behavior effectively. Yeah.
Sometimes the kids will do it, you know, they will test you, and if you can't handle it, well, I guess there's only one door to go through then after that.
And when you are a PGCE trainee, do not enter that classroom thinking, because I'm a trainee teacher, you know, enter the classroom with confidence. Because if you go into that classroom and you're shaking, and I can understand why some people might be fearful, they will absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, they're gonna pounce on you, the students.
They will destroy you. So you enter it, you gotta fake it until you make it.
Pretty much.
Don't let them know that you're a training teacher.
Yeah.
Let them assume that you are a teacher that's just there for a bit.
Yeah.
And they'll treat you in the exact same way. I think students, they don't care whether you're a training teacher or not. They'll respond to how you are, the impression.
Yeah,
that
I
you
remember when I was in my NQT year, so my first year of official teaching, some of the students were like, "So where have you taught before this?" And I just mentioned 2 of my placement schools, so I made it sound like I'm really experienced. I've been to this school, I've been to that school, but really I was only there for like a few months at a time.
Yeah.
But, you know, these are just things that you have to say. Number 8.
Fulfill wider professional responsibilities. Yeah, this one, so just making sure that you're contributing to the wider life. So I think it's like attending parents' evening, making sure that you're getting involved with clubs and...
Yeah, open evenings, just talking to other colleagues and building relationships, just asking them how their day is as well. You know, how good are you at using your TA or your LSA, having resources there for them. How good are you at communicating with parents?
Yeah.
Just telling them how their child has been today. How their behaviour was, how their progress was, just little things like that. And actually, it helps when you praise the student in your class to their parent, because then that parent goes home and says, "Guess what? Your teacher just said this about you, and I'm really happy about that."
Yeah.
And then the next day, you might have that conversation with a kid, and they'll tell you.
Sadly, we forget that we're quick to pick up the phone when the child has done something wrong.
100%.
But we don't realise that the same effect that the negativity has on the child, the positivity will also have the same effect. Because,
exactly.
Yeah, parents do want to hear when the child has done well, not just when they've done wrong. So yeah, with that wider professional responsibilities, just making sure that you're getting involved, have good relationships with your colleagues. Again, this is something that I definitely want to do an episode on, just how to get yourself around the school life and colleagues and things like that. Because sadly, some people, especially within your training year, you're only there for a few months. You're only there for 2-3 months. Make it a pleasant experience. Don't get yourselves into trouble. Don't get involved in things that you don't really need to get involved in.
Yeah, pretty much. So should we move on?
Well, yeah, part 2, personal and professional conduct, just making sure you're professional. Again, this is something that the university will go through, making sure that you're punctual, that your attendance is at a good standard, making sure that you're ensuring that your personal beliefs are not expressed in ways which exploit people's vulnerability. So again, it's just how you conduct yourself, how you present yourself in front of the students. So all of those are the things that you'll be judged on. If you have any questions about that, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we can help you out if you are doing your PGCE and you want to know what sort of evidence you can put out.
Or if you're planning to become a teacher and you're just thinking, what does that mean? What does this mean? What am I getting myself into? Just send us a message. So I went to when I went to joined my PGCE now, I went on to 2 different placement schools. I had 2 fantastic mentors, really hardworking. They set expectations not just for students but for me.
Yeah, the mentors, having a good mentor is important.
I think
It's
the
really
mentor makes or breaks your PGCE year. I've heard stories of people that haven't had great mentors, but you know, I was lucky and I was blessed with 2 great mentors, and they helped me out quite a bit.
And more often than not, the mentors are really good people.
Yeah,
But you have to
generally,
remember,
I mean,
you know, they've got things going on. They're busy. But they do tend to be really supportive. Like even myself, the mentors that I've had have been really, really good people.
yeah, amazing.
They've been approachable. They're skilled. They're experienced. They're people
Yeah.
that I can turn to
yeah,
in terms of strategies. And you know they'll be there to support you even throughout your teaching journey. I'm sure
100%,
people
yeah.
stay in contact with their mentors, and whenever there's anything that you might need, they'll be there as that support system within the school, not just for your teaching, but even just for your general well-being as well.
Yeah, so what usually happens then is that you're sent to 2 different placement schools. Okay, your first placement will start from roughly October time until maybe mid-January, and then your second placement will be from, shall we say, early February until
Yeah, depending on the university that you're at.
depending
Yeah.
on the uni you're with, and then it'll end in maybe, I don't know, is it May?
Yeah, end of May,
End of
early
May.
June. Yeah, again, all the universities vary, but that tends to be the regular
Yeah.
timescale.
You'll be given like a really, really like light timetable, a reduced timetable, a few lessons a week. Well, not a few, but you'll have like, I don't know, roughly.
I think the maximum you can get is the maximum throughout the PGC year is 60% of a timetable.
Okay, so
So yeah, again, some schools have 5 periods a
Yeah.
day. Some schools have 7. So they work it out based on that. But yeah, you'll be teaching. The most that you'll be teaching is just over 50. Yeah, just over half of it.
but you have
full-time.
you have a lot of frees. You have a lot of time to plan, a lot of time to catch up with any essays you need to do in uni. You'll have mentor meetings as well, where you'll sit down with your mentor and discuss things. If there's something you want to try out, you can talk to your mentor about that. If there's anything you want to ask, maybe about the curriculum, you can ask about that. If there's a child that's been misbehaving in one of your classes, you can discuss that. They'll give you tips and strategies. And stuff
Yeah,
like
and then
that.
yeah, within those mentor meetings, they'll be giving you targets. They'll going through the strengths. So yeah, those happen on a weekly basis. And again, your mentor also conducts formal observations. One formal observation
Yep.
a week. That observation, a lot of the things you use that observation to form your evidences for the teaching standards. What would you say were some of the targets that you were given then?
Well, targets. When it comes to targets, I had a really funny target actually once. I'm like, naturally when I speak to the kids and stuff, I've got a really calm voice and I'm just really calm with my nature and things like that. So one of my targets was to actually raise my voice. And when I heard this, I was a bit surprised. I was like, well,
That's a good
what do
point.
you mean
I don't
raise
think
my
I've ever
voice?
heard you shout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't really need to shout. Who do I need to shout at?
Yeah.
Even students are not shout at them. So anyway, one of my targets was to raise my voice, and I turned around and I said, "What do you mean?" And she was just like, "You don't really shout. Like, you really need to raise your voice." And she told me, if one kid does anything wrong, shout at them.
Shout at them.
Shout at them.
Interesting.
Interesting. But I'll
See,
tell you something.
we actually had a professional development session on that, on voice. It was really, really funny. We were joined by other people, for different PGC trainees from other schools, and we were just there practicing how to say good morning, class. I'm so and so, and I'm here to teach you. And it's amazing how your body language, your voice, can make such a massive difference.
100%.
So I do get that target. I understand it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, body language as well. You just need to be confident. You need to be confident. It's a bit like acting at first, maybe. But
It
then
is
afterwards,
acting.
you get
It is
used to
acting,
it,
yeah,
and you
it
find
is.
your comfort zone, and you realize what type of teacher you are. So going back to that raising my voice issue, I don't think I actually met that target, to be honest with you.
Up until today.
Up until today, I don't think I shouted at a kid.
I think
couldn't do it.
I think it's not even about raising your voice. I think
Yeah.
maybe just your tone, the tone of your voice.
But I mean,
But yeah, so
there
you-
have been times where I've just, X, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
they've just turned around and they're like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
sir,"
you got
you know?
to give them that look.
So I prefer taking that approach to students. They think
Yeah.
I'm calm, they think I'm cool, but when I do need to raise my voice, I will.
yeah.
And they'll feel it,
And
they'll
they
be
need to
like,
know
"Wow,
that you've
look,
got
I need
that
to calm
side."
down
Yeah.
now." Yeah. And I
So
need to
yeah,
know.
so your mentor will be giving you targets.
Yeah.
It could be voice, it could be making sure
Primer.
that you're stretching your higher ability students.
Yeah, differentiating. It
See
could
that,
be,
and that was it's me in particular. I think is just making sure that I'm extending the high ability pupils, because it's very easy for you to kind of go for the middle ground, just teach something to everyone. I want everyone to understand, but then the highers need pushing and the lowers need that scaffolding, need that support. So yeah, that's what your mentor is there to do. You've got that meeting with them every week. You discuss your weekly review of progress. Just discussing what's been going on that week. And yeah, so
if you've got any questions, you also take part in some CPD sessions, so curriculum professional development
yeah.
sessions. This usually takes place with other PGCE students or other trainee teachers from the same school that you're in. So you all get together, and then a more experienced teacher will lead a session. And these sessions can be about anything in terms of behaviour, marking, and assessment.
And that's
so
the
on and
thing,
so
like
forth.
with your PGCE, it's all about your learning. You're trying to absorb as much as you can,
Yeah,
and you have those opportunities. You will always have these professional development sessions. There are people there that have been in they've been teaching for years. They've been teaching for longer than I've been alive, and you've got to talk to these people. You've got to talk to them. Ask them what is it that's made them stay in the profession for so long.
exactly. Don't be afraid. Just ask your questions. This is your chance. A lot of people stop asking questions after they become teachers, but this is your moment to ask everything, to try out new things. Just be yourself. Just ask questions. You don't know anything, so this is your chance. So you have these sessions where they teach you stuff, and then you'll be in groups where you can discuss with the other trainee teachers as well. What's going on in English? What's going on in geography? What's going on in maths? What's going on in business? What's going on in economics? So
So I think
you can learn a lot from the different subjects.
Definitely. So the program continues that way. Both placements, you're doing your observations, you're having to collect up evidences against the teaching standards, you're having your meetings with your mentor, you're having your regular targets, and then at the end you get your qualified teacher status. You again, like I said, you'll only be teaching a reduced timetable.
You most likely won't be given exam classes like year 11 classes or year 13 classes. That's just how it is, really, isn't it? You're training, so they'll probably give you like year 10s, year 9s, 8s, 7s. If you're doing secondary,
I think some schools may allow you to help, like to team teach year 11 or just support.
If you've got that confidence and if you feel like you can do it, then you can. I remember in my trainee year, I was teaching a year 13 class. It was only once a week, so they said it was all right. I said, okay, I can handle it.
Yeah,
So
again,
that's what I did.
some schools are reluctant to give out their exam classes, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Considering how it's a tense moment for them and they're having to prepare them for exams. So to have a trainee teacher just come in and be like, can I teach this lesson? Or not all
really
schools are willing.
Yeah, I don't think it's too professional as well. But I mean, like I said, if you've got a really excellent, a well-able trainee teacher, then why not?
But I definitely say, even if you aren't given the opportunity to do that, do observe those lessons. Do make sure that you're getting yourself in there. Just know what is it that they're actually doing. How do they prepare students for exam? Because when it comes to you doing it, eventually you want to be in a position where you don't feel phased by it. You're comfortable enough to enter into the classroom. You've already developed a bank of strategies, and that is what the PGCE year is for. Learn and absorb as much as you can. And you're not training for that year. You're training to become a teacher. You're training for that year and beyond.
Exactly.
So and the training never finishes. Wow, this episode has been a lot longer than the last one.
We're doing our tips now.
Yeah, so moving on, last part. So we're just gonna go through our top 5 training gear survival tips. Now, so number 1, I think you need to make sure that you are organized. Now that doesn't mean having folders for everything and color coding your work. Trust me, I've never been the type. I did try at one point in my life to have folders, but folders aren't for me, man.
I mean,
all this color coding stuff, it just doesn't work.
I think some people love it. They love the folders. They love having the dividers, the plastic wallets. and everything like that. But again, I'm not one of those folder
Yeah,
people either.
it depends. It depends what works for
maybe
you.
I'm
Just be organized. For me, I like to keep a checklist on my phone.
I'm similar,
always on my notes.
Notes,
I've always got checklists, and I kind of structure the checklist in terms of these are things that need to be dealt with immediately. These are things that I can delay a little bit, but just make sure that you're organized.
That's quite funny actually, because I do the exact same thing, but I number them, so like 1, 2, 3 sort of thing. So I know,
and I like that feeling of removing things from the checklist.
Yeah.
So it just gives me something to work towards, you know. That's number one, making sure that you're organized. And I feel like if you are organized, it makes everything else around a lot easier.
Yeah, because then you know what you need to be doing, you know the dates you need to be doing them by, you can prioritize yourself properly. There's a lot to do in teaching, so you have to be organized. You have to know what I'm doing next, what I'm doing this week, this day, so on and so forth.
And following on from that, I think number 2, leave time for other things as well. As much as it is going to be quite a stressful, intense year, you do want to make sure that you have a life as well.
Yeah.
Leave time for family, for friends, for hobbies.
I remember my PGCE mentor at my university, he was like, is there anything you do on the weekend? And I told him I organise football every Sunday. And he said, look, you need to stick with that. He goes, don't stop organising football. He goes, a lot of people, they stop going out, they stop doing this, they end up getting stressed. He goes, just carry on doing what you're doing. If this is one thing you hold on to it, because you can get lost in teaching. There's so much to do. You can come in early and you can leave school late and you can still not have finished everything you were meant to do. All right? Sometimes it can be like that.
That's the thing though. I think some people, people do immerse themselves in the profession so much. But you have to understand, obviously, it is a profession at the end of the day. You do need to be able to have a social life. You've got your family, you've got your friends.
That's your right.
Yeah, you've got the things that you enjoy doing, and don't feel guilty enjoying yourself from time to time.
Yeah, sometimes
obviously responsibly, but don't feel guilty about it. You are entitled to that.
Yeah, and if you can, leave school when the school day finishes. There's no what's the word? There's no.
I think some people seem to believe that there's this unwritten rule where you have to stay up until
behind
5:30, 6
It's not
o'clock.
mandatory to stay behind for another hour or 2 hours or whatever. Just when the day's over, go home.
Yeah.
If you can, then go home.
So I think that's an important one. Leave time for your passions. Leave time for your own interests. Give time to yourself and have something for you to actually look forward to. And again, following on from that, number 3. Make sure that you're actually efficient as well. You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Work smart. We
have to work smart. I think that's one thing that I was taught from early, and one of the best pieces of advice I was given. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. People have been teaching for years, and there are things that exist. There are plans that exist. There are schemes that exist. You don't need to stand there and think I have to go and do every single thing by myself from scratch as if it's never been taught before.
Yeah, I mean, just ask. I mean, one of the main things to reduce teacher workload, this is one of the main reasons why a lot of teachers are leaving the profession. Just share your resources. Just ask as well. Don't be shy. Just ask. Say, if you got this lesson, I'll just like to have a look at it maybe. See if there's any resources that are already on the Google Drive, maybe already on the school drive. Yeah. See if there's anything you can use or adapt.
Yeah, there is don't TES.
Yeah, exactly. There's good websites out there. There's TES. You can get some free resources in some places. There's Twinkle for primary school teachers. That's a really good one. Don't
rely on these resources and think, I'm not going to plan anything. But just know that you can be efficient about things.
Yeah,
People put things out there, use them, adapt them, differentiate them, make them suitable for your own classes. Don't burden yourself with work that you don't really need to do.
But definitely work smart. Once you figure out how to do things quickly or quicker, you need to be using your mind, you need to be using your common sense and just be thinking logically and just doing things in a smart way.
Yeah, and you'll figure that out as you go along. All right, number 4, you kind of mentioned it. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Like the training gear.
Loads of times now.
The training gear is exactly that. It's training. It is part of a lengthy learning process, and the same way that we encourage our own students to ask questions, to clarify misunderstandings, we need to give ourselves the same advice. There is no shame in asking someone to help you with something or give you their view of your lesson plan or whatever it may be. Asking questions, it shows that you're actually a keen learner, and some of the best professional development opportunities come from teachers or training teachers interacting with one another and collaborating, rather than, it doesn't have to be formal CPD sessions. Some of the best professional development comes from that, just that interaction, that human interaction. Ask questions and be open to being asked questions too.
Yeah, I can't really add more to that. Just ask. Ask away.
Ask. Do not be afraid to ask. And the last one, again, following on from that one, is networking. So that networking could be with other trainees, networking with people around you, your colleagues, and anybody that you meet. It helps to have a support system around you. I think one thing that I found particularly useful, I remember at my first placement, there was another guy. It's with English, it tends to be quite female dominated. So in the department, there weren't any other males, and there was only one male, and he was also a PGC trainee. So we kind of helped each other to get through. We would support one another, help each other when it came to planning. We would observe each other, and it was kind of informal, but at the same time, we benefited a great deal from it. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. Just engage with other people around you, put yourself out there, network, have that support system, and it makes things a lot easier when you have people around you that you can talk to.
Yep, I agree.
And seek advice from.
Yeah, I went to a CPD the other day. Met teachers from different schools, ended up swapping emails with a teacher, and we ended up exchanging resources, and I it was amazing, the resources that they provided me with. Used it for one of my exam classes, and they benefited so much. It was just like, wow, so just talk to people, go out of your comfort zone, talk to the person next to you, say, how's your day going? Just smile, just be happy, be yourself, talk to people, make friends, and then, like I said, exchange resources, or just give each other tips and strategies and what we can help each other with.
Yeah, it is, honestly, it's a wonderful profession to be a part of. I think if we didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't be doing it. And I do feel like if you don't get any satisfaction from it, then you shouldn't do it. It's quite a human profession to be a part of. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with so many different people. You're dealing with students, with parents, with other staff members.
Other schools,
just making yourself open to those discussions. And everyone wants to have a pleasant environment.
Yeah,
nobody wants to wake up in the morning thinking, "Oh, damn, I've got to go to work," or "I've got to go and do this now." So make life easy for yourself. Enjoy it, and at the same time, hopefully make things pleasant for other people around you too.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so this episode is double the amount that we did for the last one.
Yeah, so what are we going to be talking about next episode? What do you think?
See, the next
episode... Ask the people? Should we give it to the people to decide?
We could do that. I think there's a lot that we could get into, and I'm looking forward to discussing a great deal.
So what we'll do is...
I think it'll be interesting to discuss our time working abroad. So just thinking about moving forward. So after your PGCE, what opportunities are actually out there for teaching?
Yeah, so we taught in Saudi Arabia, so we could discuss that. But again, what the people need to do now is just to follow the Teaching Bros on Instagram.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram. The Teaching Bros on Spotify as well. I'm gonna put it on iTunes for anybody that listens to the podcast on there. So yeah, we're growing. So I'll be putting it onto the different platforms. So make sure you follow us, the Teaching Bros. Get in contact. Let us know what you think. If you do have any questions, we've gone through a range of different things in today's episode. So if there's anything that you need clarifying, if you're interested in getting into teaching and you just want somebody to talk to about it, you're more than welcome to contact us.
Yeah, and follow the Teaching Bros. And what we'll do is we'll just give a little poll, maybe see what people want to vote for, what we should discuss in the upcoming episodes, sort of thing, and we'll take it from there.
All right, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Teaching Bros podcast.